Кристиан Смит, бывший механик Военно-воздушных сил США, был связан с убийствами в Пайньон-Пайнс в 2006 году, жертвами которых стали Бекки Фридли, ее мать Вики и партнер Вики Джон Хейворд. Вскоре детективы заподозрили, что он был не один. Роберт Пейп, бывший парень Бекки, также попал под пристальное внимание. Несмотря на отрицания, противоречивые алиби, данные GPS с мобильного телефона и леденящие кровь замечания, сделанные коллеги, указывали на более глубокую и мрачную правду. Ночью 17 сентября 2006 года пожарные отреагировали на возгорание в доме в Пайньон-Пайнс, штат Калифорния. После того, как пламя было потушено, внутри были найдены два тела Вики Фридли, застреленная в голову из пистолета 40-го калибра, и ее бойфренд Джон Хейворд, убитый выстрелом из дробовика в грудь. Примерно в 70 футах от дома 18-летняя Бекки Фридли была найдена сожженной до неузнаваемости в тачке. Причина ее смерти не могла быть установлена. Следователи отметили следы бензина, отпечатки ног и отсутствие признаков насильственного проникновения. Записи телефонных разговоров показали, что Бекки разговаривала со своим бывшим парнем, Робертом Пейпом, 9 раз за 48 часов до своей смерти. Их последний звонок состоялся всего за 2 часа до пожара. Хотя ранние тесты ДНК указывали на возможного подозреваемого в 2007 году, никаких арестов не производилось до 2014 года. С новыми криминалистическими доказательствами и данными с телефонов детективы возобновили дело и начали серию допросов, которые вскрыли бы давно похороненные истины. Следователи допросили обоих мужчин как главных подозреваемых. Когда его взяли под стражу, Роберт твердо настаивал, что не играл никакой роли в убийствах, неоднократно дистанцируясь от этого дела. Однако один конкретный вопрос заметно вывел его из равновесия, бросая еще большую тень сомнения на его версию событий. Правда, как оказалось, начала всплывать вскоре после этого.
Hey, Robert.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Well, I just don't know what's going on. No one tell me if I'm under arrest or what the deal is.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to kind of explain everything that's going on, so you're kind of well aware. You doing all right now? You don't have no physical injuries?
Oh, no, sir.
Anyone mistreat you?
No,
Make
sir.
you any promises, threats, or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. You know who I am?
Are you Leclerc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Detective Leclerc?
Yes, sir.
You remember who I am?
Yeah.
Okay.
Во время допроса Роберта Пейпа настойчиво расспрашивают о его передвижениях в день убийств и о его прошлых отношениях с Бекки. Он отрицает какую-либо роль в преступлении, но кажется озадачен направлением допроса. Когда детективы намекают, что его ДНК и отпечатки пальцев могли быть обнаружены на месте преступления, Роберт продолжает отрицать любую ответственность. Тем не менее, растущее количество улик, по-видимому, указывает на обратное.
Any idea what's going on today?
Well, it obviously has to do with the Fridleys, Rebecca and her mom and her stepdad.
Okay. You on probation right now for anything?
Yes, sir.
What are you on probation for?
It was petty theft.
Okay. And that's all taken care of?
Yes, I just finished my community service for it.
Okay. Obviously we're here because I've been investigating this murder for some time. Some information came to light. I've taken some information to a judge. He reviewed the facts. He kind of agreed with my assessment. Obviously, we had the search warrant for your home. I have a search warrant to collect your DNA. Is that all right with you?
That's fine. Just blood sample or?
No, it's something easier than that. It's just like a saliva sample. You know, you just stick a Q-tip in your mouth and collect a saliva sample from your cheek.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm sure you probably have some questions.
That's something I'd volunteer. Obviously,
Okay.
there's a little more reason for the search warrant, me being detained and everything.
Okay.
Well, and am I under arrest or,
Well, you're not free to go right now because we got a obligation to meet our requirements of our search warrant and obtain certain things. But let me, if you have something to say that could change my mind or my direction, I'm really willing to hear what you have to say. You know, however, because you're at the police station and you've been here for several hours, I am required to read you your rights.
Okay.
Детективы предъявляют Роберту компрометирующие данные с телефона, вскрывающие, что и его телефон, и телефон Смита были выключены в критический промежуток времени, когда Бекки была убита. По мере углубления допроса в хронологии событий Роберта появляются несоответствия, его показания расходятся с записями звонков и показаниями свидетелей. Столкнувшись с фактами, которые он не может объяснить, версия Роберта о том дне начинает разваливаться.
Obviously, you've gone through the court process before with this
The
petty theft thing. What do you think about all this?
I mean, I just don't know what would lead you to believe that, you know, I'm responsible for it. I understand that, you know, speaking with me and everything, you know, just the fact that, you know, I was close with her and things like that. I understand that. I just don't, I don't understand what, like validates like the search warrant and things like that. I don't understand.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to kind of explain some of those things.
No one said if I'm under arrest or if I'm not or what.
Well, we're talking about Bekki Fridli,
Okay.
okay, and her murder.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's some of the things we're discussing. How do you feel today about talking to me about that?
Like in what way? It's, I mean, like do I like about that case in general or actually talking to you? I mean,
No, how do you feel about, you know, does it make you sad, make you happy? I mean, she was a friend of yours.
well, yeah, we dated for over a year, about a year and 2 or 3 months and stuff, and yeah, we were really close, and yeah, when it first happened, it was, you know, I mean, it was, you know, hit kind of close, but it, you know, it's just, you know, over time, just like I had a uncle die about a year ago or something, and then, you know, that was bad too, but just a little bit of time. But I guess the worst part now is just not knowing, you know, what happened.
Okay. If you had anything to do with what happened to her, you need to tell me right now.
Okay. Well, I didn't.
Okay. Do you know for sure who did?
No.
Do you have any idea who did?
I've not the slightest idea. The only thing that, you know, I'd spoken with her family. They talked about how her mom and her stepdad were in some kind of serious debt, and they brought up the idea of something about like a loan shark or something. But I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that's like something I seriously believe or anything. I don't know.
Is there anyone you can eliminate from this investigation?
Well, Christian, I suppose he was the only one who was with me during that time.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know anyone who would or who wouldn't. You know, there wasn't. I haven't found anyone to have any motive to. I wouldn't understand why.
Well, tell me why you didn't do it.
Why I didn't? Well, I mean, aside from the fact that you know, there's no gain for me. You know, I was already broken up with her. It wouldn't benefit me at all. But other than that, you know, I wouldn't kill anyone anyway. I mean.
Do you think you're capable of doing something like that?
Killing someone? No. I mean, especially the things I heard. You know, found her in a, you know, wheelbarrow or stuff like that, and it just, you know, seems really, you know, gruesome and stuff. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Do you actually think it happened the way people say it happened?
I don't know how anything happened. All I know is that she was in the wheelbarrow and 2 other people were in the house. Or actually, I don't even know if the wheelbarrow was outside. I just assumed, but.
Did you ever tell anyone, even jokingly, that you were involved?
No.
Are you willing to take a polygraph to verify your truthfulness?
Well, I mean, I just don't. I just like to know like why why it is so, like, why I'm such a suspect, I'd say, you know. And if we're getting into, like, all that, I suppose that, you know, I'd want some sort of, like, legal advice, you know, some sort of advisor.
What if someone had told me that they saw you driving on Highway 74 that day?
I'd say they were mistaken.
Okay. Do you remember that day?
The only reason I remember as much as I do is just because I had said it so many times, you know, before, and it, you know, I mean, I know what I was, you know, the things I did. I don't remember times at all, really.
Okay. So with that in mind, you think you could kind of give me a recollection of that particular day?
I worked that day, and I suppose I drove home. I think so. I think I had my car at that time, and before that, I had just gotten rides with Christian. But I suppose I drove home, and I was supposed to hang out with Christian that day, but I hadn't gone to church because I'd worked the morning mass. The church we go to is at 10:30, and we missed that, and they don't have an evening mass. So I was going to try to go out to a mass at Sacred Heart, and as we were driving out that direction, I gave them a call and found out we'd missed it. So we went back over to Christian's, and they were playing games at some point, and then went paintballing. I don't believe we stopped anywhere. I think we were just driving, and then we ended up turning around and just going to his house.
Okay. So tell me specifically what happened when you got to his house.
Oh, crap. I really don't remember that day very much at all anymore. I probably should have written it down or something, but I think we just got to his house, and we wanted to go paintballing him, but because the gun that I had I'd gotten it from my friend, and it didn't work all that well, and I was going to try to see if I could get it to shoot right. And so we were hanging out at his house, and ended up going out there, and we were out there for a while, and came back. And
what do you mean by going out there?
Oh, we went out to behind James Orkin Middle School. There's like that big desert area, but there's a spot where there's a lot of like tables and chairs and a bunch of stuff that people brought out there specifically for paintballing. So that's where we're going out to play with the guns. But you know, just basically trying to fix my gun the whole time. I think Christian's worked pretty well.
Were you able to use your gun at all?
Oh, yeah, I fired a few, I believe, but I mean it kept leaking air, so it didn't last very long.
Did you guys talk to anyone? Anyone come by that you know and hey, what's going on?
Well, no, because it was like it's like kind of like back like behind the school almost. So I mean, you're not gonna like see someone driving through the.
Well, I mean, no other paintballers there.
Mm-mm.
You talked to anyone on the phone while you're out there?
I don't believe so. If anything, maybe my girlfriend or something, but I don't know.
I mean, would you typically have your phone with you?
Sometimes, but I mean, we were planning on doing some like, you know, little skirmishes, just us two. So if anything, I'd probably put my phone in the car or something because I wouldn't want to get it all dirty because it's all desert.
Okay. Would you leave your phone on or off?
It's very possible I'd turn it off.
Why would you do that?
Why would I turn it off? Just because it saved battery. My phone, a lot of times I'll use it to, it plays MP3s, so a lot of times I'll use it to play that, so it runs down the back. She had invited me to go hiking, and I had told her I would, and I didn't, I wasn't planning on going because I knew she would have kept on bugging me, so I just said I would, and then I was planning on just, canceling, last minute, and then she didn't go hiking with whatever guy she was going hiking with or whatever, that was it.
And when was this?
When was it? Wait, when was?
You're telling me about a hiking event. I'm asking you when that was.
Well, that was the thing. That was when she had. That was the night we were supposed to go hiking, and it was supposed to be me and her and some other guy who I don't know, and that was the night that happened.
Is that what happened?
She was, that they were all good.
Okay. Well, tell me about this other guy.
I don't know. I honestly can't remember whether she said he was a Marine or if I just assumed he was, because that's who she associated with a lot. I'd heard about her and one of her sisters got going and hanging out at the Marine base, the 29 Palms Marine base kind of a lot, hanging out with the Marines there. So I like I said, I'm not sure if he actually was or not.
What makes you think, why would she invite you up there if she's inviting someone else that you don't know up there?
I believe that she still had feelings for me. I was the one who broke up with her, and she didn't like that. And I moved on. I had gotten my current girlfriend, and I'd moved on and everything, and I was trying to slowly kind of just shut off contact with her, but she still wanted to hang out with me.
Okay. So, why would she invite you up there and invite someone else that you didn't know?
I don't know.
I mean, that wouldn't impress you, would it?
It wouldn't. The only thing I could imagine would be that she'd want to make me maybe jealous or something, but I mean, okay. I'm only speculating. I don't know why. That was, it seemed odd to me at the time, and it's kind of another reason why I didn't want to go.
Well, where does Christian fit in with this?
Christian doesn't fit in with the hiking trip.
Well, remember when Becky came over to Christian's house?
Yeah, I was at Christian's house.
Right.
So I guess that'd be the only time he fits in anywhere.
Okay, so when Becky, this was the day before the murder.
When she came over?
Right.
Was it? I believe it was, but I wasn't sure.
Becky called you and said she was in the area and you were at Christian's house?
Yeah, she said that she was doing some homework or something with a friend of hers or something. She said she just wanted to stop by and say hi or something. And I'm like, well, I'm over at Christian's. And
okay. So when she got to Christian's house and talked to you, was Christian present?
I think Christian walked out, and I think he just said hi, and I think he walked out one more time to say bye or something, but I'm not sure if he was... If he was there, I don't think he was standing there the whole time. I can't remember.
Was he involved in the hiking conversation?
No. No, there was...
Were you going to go up to Becky's house with Christian?
No, I wasn't.
Were you going to go up to Becky's at all?
Well, I wasn't going to.
It was never your intent to go up there?
It was never my intent to actually go hiking.
Okay. Did you lead Becky to believe that you and Christian were going to go up there together?
No. I don't believe so. I believe I just said I was just going to go.
Yeah. So why would other people believe that you and Christian were the ones going up there?
I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose it's possible that maybe he was included since he was there, but I as far as my recollection, I thought it was just, yes.
What was the deal with that?
Well, Javier told me, he called me and told me that there was a body in a wheelbarrow, and he later told me that it was her body.
Okay. Have you ever seen a wheelbarrow at her house?
I don't know, there's all sorts of tools. They had a little tractor and things like that. I imagine there would be a wheelbarrow. But I don't believe I've personally seen it.
Okay. So if you haven't personally seen it, then it's fair to say you've never touched it?
I wouldn't imagine, but I've played around in their garage before, just because he had a lot of power tools. I know if I've played with the different tools. Some are power tools, some are gasoline.
Right, but there's a difference between tools and a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
You know what a wheelbarrow is, right?
I know what it is, but like with the phone thing, I just assumed. I'm not going to say I never touched it, because it's possible that I've touched it before.
How could it be possible if you never recall seeing one?
Well, I mean, things can be somewhere and you don't remember it being there.
Surely you remember a wheelbarrow.
Well, I mean, I don't know what their garage looked like after the fire. It could look like, in the pictures I saw like online, it looked like that side wasn't the garage side wasn't as burnt as bad. So I don't know if the garage is okay. But if you've seen it, there's a lot of stuff in the garage. So it's kind of like my grandma's garage down here. There's a lot of things in there, and I'm sure I've touched a lot of them and couldn't recall it being there.
You know what DNA is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm talking about not DNA from years ago. I'm talking about DNA and fingerprints that are left at a crime scene.
Okay.
You know, that's stuff that you say, you know, hey, this is stuff that's left now, not from 6 months ago or 12 months ago and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So she died on a particular date. Okay. We processed the crime scene for evidence. Okay. And certain evidence was collected. Okay. And that evidence tells us certain stuff, and it even gives us time frames. Okay. So would your DNA or fingerprints indicate that you were at that house on a day?
You're asking me?
Yeah. That she died?
No, it would not be there.
Okay. She had feelings for you. Did you have feelings for her still?
She was a big part of my life, and, you know, I couldn't just cut off everything, but it was, you know, I was in the process of moving on. Definitely there wasn't as much feelings as there was, you know, earlier.
Okay. So let's take like the 7 days prior to her death.
Okay.
Because I understand, you know, you guys broke up, like what, January of 06?
So we broke up in January, that would make sense.
Do you know when she died?
September, because the year
Do you know what
anniversary
day?
just came around. No, I don't know.
Okay. So in those 9 months, have you guys communicated, or what was the relationship in those 9 months? Specifically, say September. I'm sure February maybe you guys talked more than September, or vice versa, so tell me how that worked.
I think the time that I had spoken with her, like the night before or day before or whatever, before the murders, whatever happened.
It was a murder.
Okay, all right. Then I hadn't spoken with her in, you know, a good amount of time, you know, because I was, you know, like I was saying, I was trying to slowly stop the communication, just kind of move on.
I don't know what you mean when you, for your time frame, a little amount of time.
Okay, I honestly don't remember the last time I had spoken with her before that. It was probably more than a month.
Did you talk to her on the day she died?
The day? Yes.
Okay. How many times do you think you talked to her on the day she died?
I believe once.
Okay. Did you see her that day?
No, not that day.
Okay. The day before she died, you talked to her in person at Christian's house?
Yes.
Okay. Did you, and I know you said she called on the phone before she got to Christian's house.
Okay, yeah.
So that's 2 communications that day. Did you guys have any other conversation that day?
Wait, 2 communications that day? Wait.
She called you, said I'm in the area, and I'm gonna come by. Then she showed up at Christian's house.
Okay.
So you guys had 2 conversations.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So other than those 2 conversations, did you talk to her at any other time on that day before she died?
I don't think so, but I mean, I guess it's always possible that, you know, it's like, oh, she called to say something real quick or something, but there shouldn't have been any other, like, detailed conversations.
What about that day before? 2 days before she died?
I don't believe I spoke with her.
Okay. I mean, because if you talk to her one time, you may not remember. Could be insignificant. But if you talk to her 20 times, obviously you would remember. You know.
Okay.
So that's what I'm getting at.
I don't believe I did. I don't remember. It was, you know, some time ago.
Okay. It's not going to serve us much purpose if we talk about things and we just get a whole bunch of I don't remembers.
Okay,
Obviously,
well,
that's why.
But then again, I don't want to say something that's clearly wrong, you know. So
Sure.
I mean,
I don't want you to do that either.
I was trying to be, you know, like honest about the phone thing. I assumed he did, you know. It just would be weird to me that he didn't have a phone, but I guess he didn't then.
Несмотря на растущее давление и усиливающиеся связи с местом преступления, Роберт отказывается признавать какие-либо правонарушения. Тем временем Смита доставляют для дальнейшего допроса, и их алиби тщательно сравниваются. Следователи обнаруживают отпечатки пальцев Смита на визитной карточке, найденной недалеко от места происшествия. Доказательство, которое прямо противоречит предыдущим отрицаниям. По мере того, как раскрываются новые детали, связь Роберта с убийствами становится все более неоспоримой.
What time are you supposed to go hiking?
We didn't have. I remember speaking with her. She just said after work, and I said, you know, after work, I've got to, you know, take a shower and stuff like that. So it's obviously going to be sometime after that. But I don't remember if we set a specific time.
After your work or her work?
My work. I don't think she worked that day.
Okay, so you got off work at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. So what time would you call her in order to cancel? I mean, she would expect you at some point.
Yeah.
Daytime, nighttime?
If anything, it'd probably be a little bit later, because I think I was trying to kind of just save it for the last minute, just kind of like, oh, this something just came up real quick or something. So I believe, if anything, I would have saved it till a little bit later.
Okay. So what time do you think?
Well, we were late for church and stuff, so about 5 or 6. It'd actually have to be, you know, after 6 or something. I guess it'd be between 6 and 8 or something.
Okay.
But I thought 8 seems too late anyway, so I'd imagine it was before that.
Okay, well, the only thing before 8 and after 6 would be 7.
Okay, I guess that seems like a fair number that I would guesstimate.
So it'd be fair to say that you would have called Becky around 7 to counsel because you would anticipate she would have been home at that time?
I'd imagine, yeah. I'd say that would seem fair.
Okay. So would there be a telephone record of you calling her cell phone at 7 o'clock?
There should be. Obviously you've got the records.
If the first time that you talked to Detective Michaels, do you remember talking to him in this room?
Yes.
And he was asking you about, you know, all this stuff about Becky?
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you were going to go hiking with him, or go hiking with Becky?
Yeah, I was supposed to, yes.
Okay. But you didn't tell him that you canceled.
I thought I did.
But you didn't.
I didn't tell him that I did cancel? What did I say, that I never spoke with her, or?
No, you just didn't. You just blew her off, basically. You didn't intend to go.
Well, because I believe I remember talking about her calling, I believe she called Christian's cell phone after that because she knew I blew her off. Somehow, I believe.
Why would she call Christian's cell phone?
Because if she was trying to get a hold of me, Christian would be the only other person to get to, because I'm usually...
Why was she trying to get a hold of you?
Because obviously if I wasn't there, or I hadn't talked to her, you know, what happened, then obviously she'd want to get a hold of me and find out what's going on.
But didn't you just tell me you talked to her and counseled?
I believe I did.
So why would she call Christian and try to get a hold of you?
Because I believe I called and canceled, and she wasn't happy about it. So she called Christian to get a hold of me, because I believe if I had stopped, you know, talking to her, maybe she called me and I didn't pick up or something.
Okay. All right. You want a drink of water?
My mouth is a little bit dry, but I was just...
We're almost done.
Okay.
Has Christian ever shot your 2 guns? Your shotgun and your
He's never shot the shotgun He has shot the Mosinagan.
Have you shot his weapons?
I shot the shotgun one time.
When was the last time?
It was when he first got it, and that was a good deal of time ago. So I mean, I guess you'd have to. I couldn't even say when it was.
Okay. They found a holster at your house.
Yes, sir.
And whose holster is that?
That is mine, because I was hoping to get a Glock for the class, the peace officer training class.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll tell you, but if you want to verify, you can verify with my brother. I'm trying to save up money, and well, I mean, it's really going to be his, but I'm going to use it for the class.
What caliber are you looking at?
I was looking at the Glock 22. It's the full size 40 caliber, because it's I just heard it was just what the police officers are using now, which is a little more powerful than the 9mm, but it's well, I guess it's just a little more powerful than 9mm, but I don't really know much about it.
Have you ever shot a 40 caliber?
No, sir.
Did Christian's dad, John, you know him?
I know
pretty well.
I mean, just because he's my friend's dad, but
Okay, I mean, he said he kind of knew you pretty well.
yeah, I mean, yeah, we watch movies and talk like that.
Okay.
Talk like.
He was kind of under an impression that both you guys were going up there too.
You thought we were actually going to go up there?
You and Christian.
I-
Where would he get that from?
I don't know where he would get that impression.
Okay. Was there some conversation that you guys had that maybe other people thought you guys were going to do something that you didn't actually intend to do? Like go up there?
No, we never had the intention of actually going there.
You ever heard of like pro-life Catholic ministries?
Pro-life, against abortion. I'm not sure if that's like a specific like group, but pro-life Catholic ministries.
Well, you're Catholic.
Yeah.
And they have this.
People, boycott abortion and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there's this Catholic group who go around the local churches here, the Catholic churches, and they train the volunteers, about, pro-life, teenage pregnancies, things like that, maybe even assist with, troubled teens or things like that.
Okay.
I mean, you have that at your church?
There's people who are involved in it. My mom is involved in a program. It's called Magnificat. I don't know what all that consists of, but
some of this organization is probably the main, diocese in San Bernardino. Their groups probably come around. They pass out their business cards. They go to your church, Sacred Heart. You ever seen any of these business cards?
A business card? I don't know.
Well, they say pro-life ministries on them.
I don't recall, but I mean, I would imagine, maybe I've seen it, but I just don't recall seeing it, but just a business card, I don't know.
Well, it's just not a business card. You're 19 years old.
Yeah.
Okay? You go to college. You tell me that you've explored a career in law enforcement. You've taken this class.
I'm taking it now, yes, sir.
Okay? So, these aren't just general questions. These are things that maybe you know the answer to or you don't. Okay? So, if there was a business card with your fingerprint on it that said pro-life ministries, would there be a reasonable explanation for it?
It would make sense because my mom is involved in pro-life, things like that. So I wouldn't.
It would make sense that your mom's fingerprint's on it, but I'm asking you about your fingerprint.
I've helped out with the different things. I've gone and do little protest things, like go stand in front of the abortion clinics and things like that. I've passed out flyers and stuff. I mean, if a business card was part of that, then I'm not ruling out that I wouldn't have touched it. It would make sense if my fingerprint would be on something like that.
Okay. Was Becky involved in that?
Pro-life? I don't believe so.
I mean, would you have conversation with her about it?
I know we've spoken about it. I don't think she's ever like done anything that involved like stuff like that. I don't remember.
So would you give her a business card?
Maybe I would. I mean, it's there's. I mean, I've got things like that that I just.
Robert, you telling me that you're kind of involved in it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like actively.
But Becky's not. You would remember if you gave Becky a business card related to this pro-life abortion stuff, okay?
I don't know why I necessarily. Recently?
Okay.
I don't know why I would have given her a card like that. I really don't know why I would have.
Well, I'm asking you, would you have or would you not have?
I'm not saying it's something I'd never do. I mean...
Well, certainly you would remember if you did.
Well, I don't know why I would necessarily remember something like that. Why is that such, like... It's not like a significant event. It's just...
Well, Becky's death, okay? Becky's murder is pretty significant.
But I don't know how that makes a business card significant.
Well, a business card about, you know, pro-life and things like that, you're involved in it, she's not.
Okay.
You would remember.
Why would
you give it to her?
Why would I remember that specifically? I mean, it's a business card.
You remembered a lot of things that weren't significant about all this.
Like what?
All sorts of things. We've talked about things for all sorts of things that you remember, calls and conversations and places. They had no significance, but you seem to remember that.
Am I a suspect? Would you consider me a suspect in the murder?
Yes.
Why was it that Christian's dad was told that, like...
We're not talking about Christian.
I didn't say
We're talking about Robert Peyp.
Okay, there's Peyp, but I feel this conversation is just moving towards a like hostile tone, and I don't appreciate being taken from my house when I would have voluntarily given up my fingerprints and my DNA cheek sample or whatever, and I missed an interview. I would have a job now. I have no income right now. I mean, of course, it's not so much of a big deal since I'm living with my mom, but I just feel that it was a little unnecessary.
I thought Bekky Fridli's tragic death was significant in your life.
That was significant. Well, it is significant. What says that that's not significant?
You just turned the page and thought some other things in life were significant. Why Christian's dad said this. Who cares about what he said? Let's talk about Robert.
Because someone he spoke with said that Christian and I weren't suspects. But it seems pretty obvious we are.
When was that?
You can ask him. I don't remember exactly when it was, but someone had...
He's not here, so I'm asking you, when was that? Today? Yesterday?
It was maybe about 4 months ago.
Okay, well, things have changed in 4 months.
Have they changed that much? They're really focused on...
Were the police in your house 4 months ago?
They weren't, but I don't know what...
Were you taken from your house 4 months ago?
I wasn't taken from my house.
Okay, so would you say things have changed in 4 months?
That's what I'd like to know. I'd like to know what has changed, and I had asked that, and I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, I'm a person who collects information. I'm not in the business of giving information. Things have changed, and things constantly will move forward. Okay?
And while
I'm giving you an opportunity to show your truthfulness to me. Okay? And if you want to take a polygraph test and pass the polygraph test, then that will show your truthfulness.
Really? Okay. Well, the other thing is, if you look at the other side of the coin, when you, consider that, an attorney's only goal is to be like defending and making money. Well, obviously, isn't that saying that your only goal is to try to like make someone look guilty so that, maybe you can...
My only goal is to find the truth. The facts. Okay? I get paid the same whether crime gets solved or doesn't get solved.
The point I'm making is it just seems like it's moving towards more of a hostile tone. And I just feel like I would feel more comfortable seeking some sort of legal advice.
You can do whatever you want, Robert.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, well then that's what I'm saying that I want to do.
Okay, and you'll be able to, you can do that. So your service is with Verizon,
Yes, sir.
okay? And every time you make a cell phone call, it is documented.
Okay.
And you know what a cell tower is?
Yes, I know what a tower is. Yeah.
Okay. A tower gives you a location where you're at.
Okay.
Okay. So based on the triangulations of the cell towers and your phone call history, I can tell you where you were at when you made certain phone calls.
Okay, and like I said,
One thing we need an explanation for is where you were at when you made a particular phone call, because it's not jiving with your story.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm not sure why it wouldn't jive with my story.
It wouldn't if it wasn't the truth.
Okay.
Okay? Remember, the truth doesn't change.
Okay, and I'm telling you what I remember.
Okay. Unfortunately, what you remember and what happened is two different things.
Okay.
Okay? So we need to get rid of what you remember and find the truth.
Okay. But
Okay?
you can't just get rid of what you remember if that's what you remember. Because aside from what you remember, there's nothing really, because if you don't remember it.
Well, the truth is always there. And for some reason, people always kind of come back and remember the truth. You can remember insignificant things in your life, right? All the time you remember things that are insignificant. Okay.
Certain things, but that's why I call it insignificant, because a lot of times you don't remember them.
Well, no. Okay. Now we have a significant day. Robert is at the police station.
Okay.
Okay. Is our prime suspect for this murder. And this isn't the time to can't recall an insignificant fact. Okay? You need to think down deep inside you and start recalling some significant facts.
Okay.
Okay.
I
need an explanation on some of these places you were at. Maybe there's a reasonable explanation. Okay? But until I hear it, okay, there ain't no explanation. If you want to make it reasonable, I'm all ears.
Okay. But that's as I remember.
No? Don't you think you and Christian would remember the same events?
I'd imagine we would.
Okay.
But then again, I'd imagine he'd remember the locations of where exactly we went better than I would, since
Why
he was
would
driving.
he? Why?
Because he was driving and I wasn't looking at the road.
What were you looking at?
I was looking at my phone.
Okay. For 20 minutes?
I don't remember. Like,
So, you know where Monterey is?
yes, I know where Monterey is.
Okay. You know Monterey south of 111? Where does that road go?
That goes up to Rebecca's house.
Okay. Were you at any time on Monterey south of Highway 111?
I suppose the only way is if we turn around there.
Okay. Well, why would you turn around there? You have no idea where you turned around.
I do. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's possible that we turn around there. I didn't say that we did.
So with that in mind, you really have no idea how far you got.
I don't know. Like I had said.
Okay. But the cell phone towers know.
Okay.
Okay. So with that in mind, your story needs to fit the cell phone records.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's say I turned around there. I'm not gonna, just because that's what the records say doesn't mean that I'm gonna say that I remember it.
Of course.
Okay. But what if I turned around there? Where it'd say we're driving down 111.
Well, turning around there doesn't answer the question anyways.
I don't know, maybe we were in the right lane and he, couldn't get into the left lane quickly enough.
That
so it
still
takes a
doesn't
rest.
answer the question because I just said that. That's not the facts.
What do you mean, because you just said that?
I just giving you an example.
I'm giving you an example
Okay.
that that's
If you
possible.
turn around at 111 in Monterey, it still doesn't jive with the cell phone records.
Okay, like I was
Because the cell
saying.
phone records aren't at 111 in Monterey, they're somewhere else.
Okay, I don't know where they are, but I'm telling you what I remember.
The only way to unlink yourself
Hmm.
is to show me that you're not involved.
Okay, I don't know how to show you that I
Okay,
wasn't.
I'll tell you. Okay? You contact me when you want to take a polygraph test, and you pass the polygraph, and then that will show me. that
So
you're not
if
involved.
I pass a polygraph test, I will no longer be linked to this murder.
You will not be a suspect. Yeah, I gotta take your picture, so can you stand right here? Hey, what is the deal with that bag of ammunition, the bullets and the casings with like 38 and 9mm?
I got all those out from where I go shooting. I was just collecting them.
Where'd you get them at?
1,000 Palms, where I go shooting.
You mean you found them?
Yes,
Well, why were you collecting those?
just a collection of just different calibers and stuff.
So my question I'm asking you is, what's the fascination with all the knives and the guns and the bullets?
That's just what I like. It just looks cool. I watch a lot of action movies and just things like that.
You got anything to add from the things we discussed today?
No, I don't.
You have my number?
No, I don't. I don't have.
Okay, you talk this over with some of your people, okay? And you get back with me, okay? What I said makes sense to you?
Yes.
You know, you want to do whatever's in your power to solve Becky's murder,
Mm.
exclude yourself from this whole situation. Well, you know what you can do.
Right.
And then again, maybe you just need to be truthful and let things lie where they may. Because this will never go away. Okay? And 4 months ago we were nowhere. And now 4 months ago, or 4 months now, look where we're at. You're here and the police are in your house and things ain't looking so good. Where are we going to be in 4 weeks from now? Somewhere else? You know? Have a seat so I can arrange some transportation.
Was my mom not here? Well, someone had said that she was calling, then they said that she was actually here.
I don't know, I've heard. I gotta find out. Let me find out from some people.
And my knife too.
You what?
My knife too, if that's
Alright.
there.
What's going on? They thought they had drugs on me.
What?
They thought they had drugs.
What you guys talking about?
Not a damn thing. Yeah?
Well, just the usual, but apparently there's been a break in the case recently. He was telling me that I guess they found something, so they swabbed me for swabbed my cheeks for DNA and fingerprinted me.
They did the same to me.
How long have you been here? The clock's wrong.
Yeah,
Been here since 10.
yeah, same here. 10:30, I guess.
Where were they like keeping you normally? Like were you in that little cell thing? Smells like piss.
Dude, I almost took a piss in there.
Yeah, I have to pee, yeah.
So I told him nothing. When you
Obviously, we've never met. We're not the original people that you talked to back in 2006 when all this stuff occurred. We've kind of picked that up again, all right, so those people are not a part of our unit anymore. They've gone on their way elsewhere into the department. But we have picked it up just as a fresh look at things. And, you know, we could be here talking to you again, you know, next week, next year, or somebody else takes our place. You know, I've got retirement coming up pretty soon, you know, and there's going to be somebody else that's going to roll in and take my position, okay, re-looking at it, and it's not going to go away until it's dealt with, bottom line, all right? And I'll tell you, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but my theory is that whatever happened up there, I think you had a much lesser role in that, okay? And I firmly believe that. But I can't sit here and tell you, hey, I know what happened up there. I know everything, because that would be, you'd be calling bullshit on me, all right? And you'd be right, because I don't know. I wasn't there, all right? I only know what I know based on the evidence, the massive amount of people that I'm going to talk to, the interviews and stuff like that. So, and it leads us to, you know, basically one conclusion, all right? And that's, you know, a big thing that I've learned long ago is that two things, you know, you have, when we do what we do, we have the evidence and we have the truth, okay? And what happens is, you know, if somebody lies to us, we expect that. But if somebody lies to us and tells us a story, we can compare it to the evidence and say, no, that doesn't mix. That's not right. It's not consistent. That's bullshit, okay? But when people tell us the truth, and we can take that and we put that to the evidence and like, oh, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. That is explainable. What do you think?
I know there's a lot for you to.
Yeah, just let me gather my thoughts.
Yeah, it's a lot for you to take in.
Well, you guys are, with respect to you guys, guys are obviously implying that I was involved in it in some way. And that being said, and it being 6 years ago, I don't remember those dates or exactly what happened. So not to implicate myself in anything wrong, or I don't want to say word twist or anything like that, because I don't believe that you guys are here to do that to me.
Not at all.
No.
I'd feel much more comfortable with a lawyer or something like that, because like I said, 6 years is a long time for me to just start spouting off what I remember or what.
And Kristen, that's you know, and I guess that's part of the spill that I missed. Sometimes I get carried on. Again, the last thing either one of us want anybody to do, anybody, okay, whether they're guilty, not guilty, or anything, witnesses, victims, anything. The last thing I don't want anyone to do is to do that.
One of the things that we want to, in my end, it's going to be maybe hard for you, maybe not, but I want to show you
The impact of
what happened to Becky. Okay, 6 years ago, that's what she looked like, and this is the house that she lived in, and her mom and her boyfriend. You know, I've seen, you know, I'll listen now.
Okay, so
No. This is one of the bodies that were dug up from the remains of the house.
that's actually Becky right there.
This is Becky. And this is Becky as well. It's hard. I mean, I know it is. You know, she's an 18-year-old girl who didn't really deserve.
It's not that. I mean,
Not this. I mean, not even anything close to that. She just started life, you know. And these were her parents. Okay, and that's when we talked about how serious this is. And I think, we don't need to tell you how serious it is. What can I say? The pictures speak for themselves, you know. She was an 18-year-old that,
prime of her life.
yeah.
That's what we're trying to put an end to.
Yeah.
Close this out.
I mean, she did have sisters, family, friends that loved her, and we talked about that loyalty thing earlier, and there's a line you got to draw. There's a line, and again, with the respect and that you asked for an attorney, we won't get into the details. We'll let you initiate this back with us. That is, kind of like the ball was in our court, the ball is back in your court, and just what you do with that ball is up to you. Okay. And we'll just go ahead and do that, all right? We'll go back out here real quick and see if your ride's here, first sergeant, somebody's supposed to pick you up. Remember, we're gonna be here till tomorrow. We could delay flights. We could come back within a couple hours. It's up to you, okay? You do what you need to do, okay? And just, let's go and see this guy.
Роберт Ларс Пейп и Кристиан Смит, обоим по 29 лет на момент их ареста, были в конечном итоге признаны виновными по одному из самых леденящих кровь дел об убийстве в округе Риверсайд. Пейп был осужден за убийство второй степени за смерть 18-летней Бекки Фридли, в то время как и он, и Смит были признаны виновными в убийстве первой степени, в убийствах матери Бекки, Вики Фридли, и партнера Вики Джона Хейворда. Тройное убийство нарушило покой маленького пустынного сообщества Пайньон-Пайнс и заставило семьи скорбеть более 10 лет. В 2018 году, после длительного судебного разбирательства, оба мужчины были приговорены к пожизненному заключению без возможности условно-досрочного освобождения. Приговор, который подчеркнул расчетливое насилие преступления и необратимую боль, которую оно причинило.